Hello again, everybody. Welcome back to Wrestling with Power. Mosley here, joined as always by that guy right over there, Slick Vic.
What's up, Mosley? How you doing?
I'm doing okay, Slick Vic. I noticed you've got a Chicago shirt on. Is that correct? Yeah. What is that?
It is
Heel?
kind of. It says Health Kick. It's
Health
the name.
Kick. Okay.
There's a supplement store nearby called Health Kick,
Okay.
and they used to do this yearly thing where they would have they'd celebrate their birthday, so they'd have a bunch of vendors, like supplement companies, like bring out their spokespeople or salesmen to give out their wares.
Yeah.
So I'd always go and collect a whole bunch of free samples of protein powder and pre-workouts and other good stuff. And there'd always be, free t-shirts. And one year this guy gave out this t-shirt.
That's so cool, man. Chicago really has. Now, that is the Chicago. Is it the Chicago flag or is that the Illinois flag?
It's the Illinois flag, I believe. I should know this, but
because it's synonymous with Chicago. I don't think Chicago has its own flag, right? It's the Illinois flag, I would assume.
It's the Chicago flag.
Okay, so Chicago has its own flag. Okay.
Yeah. The Illinois flag has like an eagle on it.
Nah. We got one flag here in Kentucky, and it sucks. It sucks. Chicago's got the coolest flag, dude. Like, I know that CM Punk uses that for a lot of his gear and swag and stuff, but, like, it's really marketable. And, like, when you're there, you see it on everything, and they put it on, like, posters and what have you, ads everywhere, and it just looks so cool. It looks appropriate. Kentucky's flag is ass. It's got like two pilgrims shaking hands or something. You ever seen it, Slick Vic?
I'm gonna look it up right now. Kentucky flag. Yeah, looks like Commonwealth of Kentucky. United we stand, divided we fall. There's two people like holding hands or shaking hands or something.
Yeah, it's like a pilgrim and an Indian. It's zero to do with Kentucky. Like, we need a cool flag that has cornbread on it and soup beans, some fried taters. That's what we need. I can get behind that.
Like the big cities don't have like Lexington or Louisville don't have flags.
I mean, Louisville has its own university, and it's sort of like a rival thing. So they're the Cardinals, and Kentucky is the Wildcats. University of Kentucky is the Wildcats. So, like, there's sort of a thing going on there, but as far as, like, its own flag, I don't think so. That would be interesting to find out. Maybe hold on. Lexington, Kentucky flag. It looks like a donkey, apparently, so I think it's supposed to be a horse, but
yeah.
That's a donkey. Louisville, Kentucky flag looks like the Australian flag or something. Louisville, Kentucky flag. See, it's not cool. Like, Louisville, Kentucky flag is literally like the Australian flag mixed with, like, the Czech Republic, or I don't even know where they got this idea, but
according to Google AI, this is the big blue horse.
That it is.
Okay.
So yeah, ass. In other words, not cool at all, not marketable whatsoever.
Well, we hope everyone enjoyed our educational lesson on flags.
Yeah, Kentucky, get a better flag. That's what you need to do. Yep, but Slick Vic, so we've made it. We are at literally less than a week away from Night of Champions, from the finals of the King of the Ring tournament. We now know what the King of the Ring tournament looks like. The finalists, anyway, we know what the card for Night of Champions looks like, which means we're going to be looking at Slick Vic's picks tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, we're going to dust off the old crystal ball, and we're going to see what's going to happen at Night of Champions. Slick Vic's going to tell us all about it. That's going to be here in a little bit. We're going to look at some wrestling history as well, and of course, this week's Raw and SmackDown. But first, we got some recent news, and in order to do that, I'm going to need my music. So, Slick Vic, if you just bear with me for just a few moments, I am going to pull up this sweet-ass music that is titled Breaking at 6. What the fuck? Jesus Christ. I didn't know what that was. That looked like the Crypt Keeper at first that was sneaking up on me there.
That was Smeagol from Lord of the Rings.
Yeah. All right, Slick Vic. So, recent news. There's been several things that's been going on here lately, but ladies and gentlemen, just to breeze over really quick, the big thing that's been going on in the past week specifically has to do with TNA. And TNA's been doing all sorts of wild stuff. I know last week we talked about Tessa Blanchard asked for her release from TNA, was granted her release from TNA, but we also knew that she was working with CMLL, so we're like, CMLL pays her more, books her more, makes sense that they don't want to have... Well, apparently that was just the tip of the iceberg, Slick Vic, because there was another story that came out that Sami Callihan has gone from TNA Wrestling, which is interesting because we talked about Tessa, and I remember mentioning... Yeah, I remember those matches of Sammy and Tessa. Those were big. That was like a big thing going on at that time. And so Sammy has apparently been working as a producer backstage, but he has also gone from TNA. And then we learn that Anthem Sports released, I guess, an email to everyone or the media or whatever. But it reads like this. This is from Sean Ross Sapp's Facebook, TNA press release. This was posted 6 days ago. Anthem Sports Update. TNA Wrestling today announced a workforce reduction designed to streamline operations and sharpen strategic focus and profitability. TNA's creative leadership team will see an immediate shift. Tommy Dreamer, who has worked in TNA's creative and talent relations department, is leaving the company as TNA and Dreamer mutually agreed to part ways. TNA Wrestling also has come to terms on the release of Tessa Blanchard. We wish Tessa, Tommy, and others the best in their future endeavors. Slick Vic, we knew about Tessa last week. We see this, we find out about Tommy, we find out what he was doing behind the scenes, and also the press release doesn't mention it, but of course, as I mentioned, Sami Callihan also released. I saw where Tommy Dreamer was on Busted Open Radio talking about this, and he got pretty emotional over it. He said it was a mutual thing, but it did not seem that mutual based on his reaction. Like they were sort of like, this is going to happen whether you want it to or not, so he just sort of accepted it. And then Sami Callihan was really hot over being released from TNA. And then, Slick Vic, then we learn, according to, this is from Wrestling Mania Fans' Facebook page. They probably got it from somewhere else. Anthem owner Len Asper. So Anthem is the owner of TNA. The owner of Anthem, Len Asper, has set a $30 million floor for a potential sale of TNA Wrestling, with his preferred price ranging between $40 million and $50 million. While no deal is currently imminent, TNA's guaranteed revenue from its AMC TV deal is believed to be a major factor behind the valuation. And of course, Slick Vic, we know that they just recently got that deal, man. It's been less than a year ago. In fact, I think it's been, Jesus, well, I mean, AJ Styles showed up on their debut show on AMC. I remember that happening. It's been no more than 6 months ago. I couldn't imagine that they've actually been on Anthem, and now they're talking about a sale, and they've got a price that is, I'm not a millionaire, but that is very negotiable for somebody like WWE or even AEW to bid up to buy that library for. And it creates a very interesting state of things. And, we've mentioned before, Slick Vic and I, we don't watch TNA. We don't currently watch or follow TNA, but we keep our ear to the ground as far as the wrestling world is concerned. And this is big news, man. What do you make of all this, Slick Vic? What is the crystal ball telling you anything about TNA and its current state of of being?
I didn't know Tommy Dreamer was the head of creative at TNA. Did they announce a replacement? Is there someone else who's going to grab the book? Or
No, I mean, the way that the article's read, and this is at least how I've seen it, is that first it was Tessa, then it was Sammy Callahan and Tommy Dreamer, and then all of a sudden they're wanting to sell the company. They're at least putting a price on the company. So I haven't read anything about a replacement for anyone. It seems like they tried to cut costs by releasing some people, or it could have been Slick Vic that they got rid of these people because these may have been like the highest paid individuals there, which isn't hard to believe. Sammy Callahan been with the company forever. If he's helping out backstage and doing all this stuff now, easy to believe that he was getting a pretty good payday. Tommy Dreamer, obviously, probably getting a pretty good payday, and Tessa Blanchard, one of the more well-known names on the TNA roster. They may have let them go so that selling the company, whoever was to buy the company would not then pick up the cost of paying these individuals. See what I'm saying?
yeah.
So, I don't know.
Are you thinking that maybe one of the big two swoop in and purchase them?
I think that it's almost guaranteed that if they decide to sell the company, that WWE's buying it. I can't imagine that it would go any other way, but I would be interested to see how that works out because I think that AEW may try to buy it. Why wouldn't they want that video library? But I mean, come on. Everybody that at some point in time went to TNA and had a little bit of a career there ended up going back, with the exception of, I don't know, Sting, ended up going back to WWE, ending their career there. So, and TNA and WWE has been buddy-buddy for the past few years anyway. Like, it just makes sense that WWE would be interested in buying that company, whereas AEW doesn't have... They could probably afford to buy it, but it's like, it shouldn't go to them. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's not for them. But like I said, it'll be interesting to see how it happens. Like, will they try to, maybe throw down a bid?
They'll have like a like the Warner Brothers thing where Paramount and Netflix competing over it, but I doubt it comes to that. I can definitely see WWE owning it just for the library, like you said.
Exactly. And
yeah,
they could even keep it. The AMC TV deal's new. WWE could keep TNA, and where I think they fucked up back in the day whenever they bought WCW was getting rid of WCW, like, completely, pretty much. They brought over a few of the wrestlers that nobody cared about because all the wrestlers that anybody cared about had guaranteed pay and they didn't have to show up. So we didn't see people like Nash and Hall and Hogan and Goldberg for like 2 years after the buyout. But in this case, they could buy TNA and keep it going. Just keep it going and use it as sort of a secondary developmental pipeline for WWE.
Isn't that Evolve? Isn't Evolve like their secondary feeder system now?
I think so, but like, who knows what the fuck's going on Evolve? Do you watch Evolve?
No, I don't. But it's gonna be like TNA. Who watches TNA?
Well, at least they're on a major cable network, though. They got the AMC deal. If they had the backing of a company like WWE, TKO, promotional-wise, They could set that on fire. They could really,
Yeah.
you know. So
Evolves on Tubi, though.
Jesus Christ. Well, Tubi has a lot of cool stuff. The last thing I would spend my time watching, though, it probably is Evolved, though. I got to be honest with you. Tubi's come a long way.
Tubi's got a great horror section.
They really do.
Fantastic horror section.
They have the Osbournes on there, too?
Yeah, I've heard. Is it uncensored, or do they have
it's uncensored. Yeah, completely uncensored.
I heard the show is better with all the bleeps and, censorship.
It may have been back in the day, but now I don't want to deal with that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well,
so.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm turning on Tubi, it's probably to watch a horror film.
I watched, speaking of that, Slick Vic, if we can segue for just a moment, I watched the most recent Faces of Death that came out.
Okay.
Which is actually like a modern day horror movie that's called Faces of Death, but it's based on a killer who is replicating the murders that supposedly happened in the old Faces of Death video, right?
Okay.
So it's interesting, but I watched it, and it was okay. It was decent, but it made me want to see the old one, so I went back and watched the old one for the first time ever. Have you ever saw it?
No.
Okay, you need to go watch the old Faces of Death, because you will, I'm telling you right now, it's got that weird Night of the Living Dead, like, cheap-esque vibe to it, but, like, the special effects and everything are so fucking gruesome and look so real. Like, nobody knew for a long time whether it was actually real or not. So, but yeah, well, you check both of them out if you want to. I mean, you can rent the newest one, I think, is on Vudu for like $5. You can rent it. It's worth a $5 watch.
All right.
But yeah, definitely the old one. Definitely the old. You and the old lady, I know that you both love it. Trust me.
Okay.
And it's on Tubi as well. I think it's on Tubi. It might be on Vudu, but if it's on Vudu, it's free on there. So
I'll find it.
I'll find it, brother. You got that VPN. I'll find anything.
What else is in the news then, Mr. Mosley?
You know what? That's just about it for news, Slick Vic. There's some other things that we could talk about, but nothing that big going on this past week in wrestling that we've got a lot to get to tonight, so why don't we go ahead and move on to something else? What do you say?
Let's do it.
All right, so next on the docket, as per the usual, is going to be this week's SmackDown. So, Slick Vic, I've talked enough. You go ahead and take it away.
All right, SmackDown on the 19th of June, Kansas City, Missouri. This is Harley Race territory, if I'm not mistaken. All right, so did we start off?
I don't have any Harley Race sound bites. I'm sorry.
I'll move. There's that old story about what's your finish? I'll move. Look it up. Undertaker tells a great story about that.
Yeah.
Just type in Undertaker Harley Race, you'll find it. Anyways.
Wait, who was the guy, the world, was it, who did the, I think it was Harley Race who did that one thing where he went to like Australia and he cuts that promo that's incredible. It's from back in the day. He's so fired up. He's like, "You have insulted the world's heavyweight champion." And he's screaming. Anyway, look it up, ladies and gentlemen. YouTube, Harley Race. I'm going to do it right now, actually, Slick Vic, and we may listen to it right here. But I'm sorry, continue.
Well, we start with what I thought was going to be the main event. We have Cody Rhodes versus Gunther for the WWE Championship. Now, I thought the first half of this match was pretty slow, and I was surprised how down the middle Sammy called most of the match. Keyword most. Then there was this weird moment where they repeated the spot where Gunther's leg is on the bottom rope, and Sammy sees it and stops the count, and then Cody gets mad at Sammy for it. I thought Cody's supposed to be the babyface, and whatever. And then Gunther later powerbombs Sammy, and then a new ref comes in. It looks like Gunther has the match won with a powerbomb, but Sammy pulls the second ref out. And then Cody wins with a roll-up and a fast count made by Sammy. The match itself's okay. This was all about Sammy, to be honest with you. It was, as we find out later, this match is just a build to another match, which we'll talk about later. Oh wait, the match is not entirely over because they do restart the match without Sammy as the ref. And once again, looks like Gunther is going to win, but then Sammy comes out of nowhere with a haluva kick on Gunther, which looked like he was going to aim for Cody. Hits Gunther, DQ finish. Sammy then whacks Cody with the belt. The best part of this whole segment, no commercials. That really does make a difference even when you don't watch it live. Just the whole, we'll be right back after this, or, none of that nonsense. There's no breaking up of the flow. So, yeah, good. Props to WWE for making this segment commercial free. Backstage, Jade Cargill challenges Tiffany Stratton for the U.S. title at Night of Champions. Gunther tells Nick Aldis he wants another title shot. And Jacob Fatu tells Solo Sikoa he's here to make sure no one interferes in Jey Uso's match and tells Solo to reconsider rejoining the bloodline. He's got that very low speaking intense voice that he does. And then the Tongans show up, Tala and Tama. They show up and they tell Solo not to get involved in their match against Priest and Truth, which leads us to Damian Priest and R-Truth versus the MFT for the WWE Tag Team Championship. The War Raiders, the AAA Tag Champions, are watching backstage. This match is the same old, same old. I feel like these four dudes have been feuding, plus Royce Keys, for the longest time, and I've lost interest a while back. Solo does make an appearance. He actually took a bullet for Tala Tonga here. And then the match ends when Truth rolls up Tama for the win. And then the post-match, the MFT leaves Solo behind and leave. Is this the end of the MFT? Anyways, we now return to Sami Zayn talks to sad Johnny Gargano, but it's interrupted by Nick Aldis. And they argue, and Sami says he's not going anywhere. Jey Uso and Javon meet backstage, and they start off respectfully until Javon calls Jey Uso Unk. And then Jey says he'll see him out there later. Yeet.
Yeah.
I do remember somebody holding up a sign in WWE a while back. It said CM Unk.
Oh man, that's good shit. That's actually one of the new words that I like, that I can get into. Unk. That's good.
I mean, Javon is 21, and Jay is 40.
I know, it's crazy to think about, right?
Yeah.
Like, what am I doing with my life that Javon Evans is 21? And there he is.
We ain't bouncy, man.
No, we're very city. That's why we sit here and do wrestling with power. We don't bounce.
I'm pretty keep my center of gravity low.
These days, yeah. You got to lower your center of gravity so a sumbitch can't throw you over the top rope.
All right. So Carmelo Hayes versus Ricky Sainz for the #1 contendership for the U.S. title. Now, similar to their last match, both worked fine. They got their shit in. But this time, Ricky goes over after Ricky pushes Melo into the exposed turnbuckle and gets the pin. That was a pretty weak ending, in my opinion. And correct me if I'm wrong. Didn't I talk about 50-50 booking last week with these two guys?
Yeah, you
something
did.
About it.
Yeah, you did.
Sure enough, Carmelo won last week. This week, Ricky wins, and now Ricky's heading over to Night of Champions. I have a prediction about this match and the future of this feud later when we talk about my picks. All right. Okay. That's a halfway point, Mr. Mosley. Have you got anything to add to this discussion on SmackDown?
I mean, so far, the most interesting thing that I saw, other than the beginning, the first match of the night, which was interesting, seeing Sammy involved in this. And I hate to spoil things a little bit, but I kind of saw where that was going once Sammy got involved, and you could see it from a mile away. But we'll talk about that when we come to it. The MFT leaving Solo behind? Interesting. We'll see Solo here in a couple of days on Monday Night Raw show up by himself and get involved in a certain match. But, who are the MFTs without Solo?
Yeah.
Honestly. And it is sort of like a Wish.com bloodline. Like, it's never been to the level that the original bloodline was. And then they sort of tried to make it its own thing, but I don't even think that worked. I mean, they fucking fired 2 of them not even a month or 2 ago, and now they're left with a big guy who is just a big guy and a guy who has a lot of potential, but they're not putting any kind of forget a rocket ship. They're not putting a sparkler on this guy's ass to send him anywhere.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
It's been kind of downhill for the MFTs after that War Games match.
I think that the MFTs had potential here and there. There were spots where, yeah, they could do something with this. They could do something, but I think altogether, it's looking like the MFTs might have just been one big giant failure of an idea. So, I don't know.
We'll see what happens to Tama and Tala, because I feel like, yeah, like you, they're just going to get lost in the shuffle, or, you know, you might not even see them.
As far as it goes right now, I mean, as far as like big guys in WWE, there's not an overabundance of them like there used to be. You have Oba, but Oba's a different type of guy. He's big, but he does things that a normal big guy wouldn't do necessarily. Like, he doesn't necessarily wrestle like a giant. Taller wrestles like a giant. You know, big boot, choke slam, whatever. Grab them by the head and crush their head. You know, just giant stuff.
Yeah, right.
And then Tama has all the fucking personality and attitude, and I mean, they could make him a star if they wanted to. So I hope it goes in a better direction. But yeah, there's nothing that makes that. I don't think anybody is a fan of the MFT. Who is out there singing the MFT's praises? Can you imagine anybody being a fan of the MFT, buying a ticket to go to see Friday Night SmackDown because, I can't wait to see the MFT tonight? You know, I don't think so.
I wish Tama really did keep up the yeah. I thought that was getting over with the crowd, but does he even do that anymore?
He's not done it in a very long time, yeah.
All right, moving on. Cody Rhodes with his backwards cap show up, and he wants a triple threat for Night of Champions. And
how stupid did that look, by the way?
He looked like a 90s gamer ready to, go down to half pipe. And
yeah, it reminded me of that. It reminded me of that meme of that guy that was like standing in the doorway with the sideways cap that they made all the memes off of.
Yeah.
It was setting up on his head way too far. No, never do that again, Cody. If you happen to listen to this podcast, never again.
All right. Charlotte says she's still the queen. Then, now, and forever. Woo!
Together. Oh, can I get you want a woo out of that?
Yeah. Well, she gave us a woo.
Okay.
So I'm like, yeah.
Sometimes
woo!
I'm slow to catch on to these things, Sleek Vic. I'm sorry.
That's all good. It's all good. Danhausen is in his lab messing with a catatonic Miz and Kit Wilson. Is that I don't even know if that's the right way to describe them, because they were still like, doing their catchphrases, but they were like, in like vegetative states,
like spontaneously busting into catchphrase.
Yeah. Or like he's like toxic.
Yeah.
Awesome. Anyways, Los Garza come in and they're mad at Danhausen because he didn't curse the Knicks. And then Angel almost gets cursed for it. And then Matt Cardona comes in to his aid and he gets a little jolt. And then Danhausen's like, "Are you all right?" And he's like, "You know it." So I'm like, oh, is Zack Ryder coming back?
Ooh.
And then Finn Balor and R-Truth are chatting in the back. Truth does a lot of jokes. There's all this talk about, he does a lot of talk about the Judgment Day. And then Priest comes in and he tells Truth he doesn't trust Finn. All right. The King of the Ring semifinal match between Jey Uso, a.k.a. Unk, versus Javon Evans. All right. So Javon shows off his speed. He's bouncy. He's got his ribs taped, He's fighting adversity, but he still hits a Spanish fly. And I don't know if you caught this. The crowd were waving their cell phone lights like the Fireflies during this match. I
didn't connect the two. But you know what I did think of?
What?
Spanish fly.
Is this a Beavis and Butthead joke?
Yeah. I never made that connection.
I remember like Beavis buys it, but like another dude ends up taking it. Like he was going to spike a female's drink with it, I think.
Yeah, that may have been in the newer episodes too, where it's like, no, oh shit, what's the guy's name?
Todd?
No, the guy that they're always
Stewart?
No.
Well, I remember
and Mr. Anderson.
Oh,
yeah, Tom. Is it Tom Anderson?
Tom Anderson. Boy, I'll tell you.
He's like, boy, it's getting to be where Mexico's the only place you can be an American these days. I had to go all the way to Mexico, and he buys a whole big barrel of this
DDT
poison. Yeah, yeah. And Butthead's trying to read it, and he's like, whoa, this is Spanish fly. And then they take it to the like prom dance or whatever. And
oh my God. I just remember, I think in the like older ones, like Beavis tries to like, spike a woman's drink with it, but then like I think her boyfriend ends up drinking it instead, and then like the music goes like dun 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 dun.
Yeah. Oh man. All right. My bad. I had a momentary lapse of thinking about our awesome episode art from last week. Brad Buffer outdid himself.
Thank you, Brad. So Jay comes back with a spear and a splash for the win, and now we know our finalists for the King of the Ring. Post-match, they shake hands, and Jay holds his hand up. Now I'm confused, because Jay did a full babyface entrance here. He was eating with kids. He's shaking Javon's hand, but then sometimes he's coming out all, heel mode. He'll still heat, but I don't know. I get the sense like there's like shades of gray with him at times, and then he was full babyface here, so whatever. Solo tells Jacob backstage that he's coming for Roman. Tiffany Stratton accepts Jade Cargill's challenge, so we got another match. And that's for Night of Champions, that is. Chelsea Green acts like they're friends, but Tiffy's still not having it. A video package on Brie and Paige. Fatal Influence are mad about their loss last week. And then JC says she's going to challenge Paige to a match next week. Jay and Cody are backstage, and Jay says after he wins King of the Ring, he's coming for QB1. Yeet. Sammy comes in and says he's not going to face Cody. He's going to face Sammy. And then Charlotte's making her way to the backstage to the ring. And just before she gets to Gorilla, we see Jade, Michin, and B-Fab. There's some exchange of words, and then they jump Charlotte. And then that leads us right to the main event. Queen of the Ring semifinals. Liv Morgan versus Charlotte Flair. Well, as you'd expect, Liv goes after Charlotte's knee the whole match, and that's pretty much it. Charlotte gets a couple of hope spots, then eats an oblivion, but then a pretty nice looking single leg crab where she gets a lot of torque. It looked pretty vicious, so I'll give her that. And Charlotte tapped. It's funny. They did a somewhat similar thing with the Javon match because Javon is selling his injured ribs, but this is Charlotte, so they gave her a lot of drama, a lot of screen time to just sell.
Yeah.
And I've come to not really like these matches where someone sells a body part the whole match and then the heel just works on it. So I didn't really care for this one. But we now know the finals for the Queen of the Ring. And that is the end of SmackDown, my man. Would you like to lay the SmackDown on your thoughts?
The main thing I have for you, Slick Vic, here is
Cody's backwards cap.
Well, the backwards cap, we talked about that. So the King of the Ring finals, Jey Uso wins. He goes on, he's going to face Obafemi. I don't remember what I said last week in terms of how I saw this going, but I think I said that I did not want to see Jay win anything. So, you know what? I'm confused. I'm just here for the ride. I'm not going to make any predictions about what's going to happen. We've sort of talked about it before. Will Brock be there? Maybe. Who knows? We'll have to see what happens there. But Charlotte losing by submission, tapping out. I got to say, man, you know what? The single leg crab is one of my favorite submission moves. So I got a kick out of that. I'm not so excited about Liv going over there, but there's still that possibility that Liv goes on to win this whole thing, and then it creates a whole new dynamic. This tournament was set up to decide who is going to challenge which world champion. So if Liv wins, what do we do? Because we don't know what the result of that is. So, you know what? I'm rooting for Liv in this one.
You know, she's had 0 title defenses since winning it at WrestleMania.
Yeah.
We
And,
used
you
to
know,
give...
everybody was coming down on Jade Cargill. You were coming down on Jade Cargill for never defending the title. How many times has Liv defended? I'll give you another one. How many times has Mommy defended?
Well, she did have that rematch with Jade.
There's one. There you go. And everybody was shitting on Jade Cargill. I'm starting to turn my ship around a little bit, Slick Vic, and say, you know what? Maybe we had something we didn't know what we had. But I think that Rhea might be injured still at this point. So it's kind of up in the air.
They took her off the poster, and now Jade's fighting Tiffany Stratton.
So the question becomes, you know, what is the result of all this? Is it going to be Io Sky or is it going to be Liv? And if Io beats Liv, then she knows she can beat her, and she's just going to challenge her.
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
I find it much more interesting of a way to go that Liv wins this whole thing, and then we try to find out what happens next.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Well, why don't you take us through Monday Night Raw?
All right, let's see what happened on Monday Night Raw, Slick Vic. I believe we were across the pond for this one. Monday Night Raw took place on June the 22nd. Just a mere 25 hours ago in the United Kingdom, in London, United Kingdom. So this was another instance of Raw opening and starting at a weird time and me not realizing it, but it doesn't matter because I'm just so accustomed to when I start watching Raw that I started watching it at the normal time I would watch Raw. But the show opened up with Obafemi cutting a promo. Same old promo, I'm going to win King of the Ring, blah, 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 the crown's for me. He's interrupted by Jey Uso, who has a yeet party, and then Oba says he's not going to run it back because he'll shut that shit down, but then Jey runs it back anyway. And Oba's just standing there, and he doesn't look impressed. Jey says this is Oba's warning shot, but Oba says at Night of Champions, if he's shooting for real, he better not miss. Okay. Little cheesy on that opening, I gotta say, a little boring. It's been weeks and weeks that we've saw people cutting these promos. I'm going to win King of the Ring. No, I'm going to win King of the Ring. No, I'm going to get the crown because I'm the ruler. And it's more of the same bullshit. And I've been so ready to get this King of the Ring behind us that I'm a bit excited that we're this close at this point. But after the opening to Raw, we have a backstage segment where LA Knight is ranting to Adam Pearce. Again, more of the same. LA Knight's in the back and he's bitching. Jimmy Uso gets involved, and we end up getting a match later between the two. So, okay, that's cool. I like LA Knight matches, and you know what? I'm going to champion Jimmy Uso here because I'm a bigger fan of Jimmy than I am of Jay. And then we finally get to an actual match. This is for the Women's Tag Team Championship. Brie Bella and Paige, the champions, versus Lyra and Bayley. And in this situation, Paige is the hometown hero here in London, England. So, long story short, this match ends with the champs retaining, which was the right way to go in my opinion. Paige hits the Rampage on Lyra and picks up the win for her team, gets a big pop. Where is it going? I have no idea. Brie Bella and Paige as the champions seems like it was a quick fix after Nikki got hurt. And I remember saying, I think the Bella twins are going to walk out the champions. That was one of the WrestleMania picks that I think Slick Vic got wrong, but he didn't know that Paige was going to be there, and it changed the whole thing. But at the same time, I wish we got to see them a little bit more, despite what anybody thinks about the Bella twins. They don't like them. They suck, whatever. It seems like we haven't seen Paige really much other than very sparingly here and there, which kind of sucks because she's been away from WWE for a long time, so it is what it is. The big deal about this match, though, ladies and gentlemen, was the post-match, where we finally see the breakdown of Bayley and Lyra. We've been expecting it for a long time. Been expecting it even way back when Bayley was doing the split personality thing that they just dropped in the mud and left laying. That went nowhere. So I always thought that maybe they might return to that, and Bayley will be the one to end up turning on Lyra. I mean, Lyra ate the pin in this match. She lost the match. She took the pin. But it was Lyra who ended up beating down Bayley after the match. And so they tried to interview Lyra after the match. She didn't want to talk about it. They tried to interview Bayley a little bit later on in the night. She didn't say anything. Obviously, we're getting a match between the two, probably at SummerSlam. But Lyra's a bad girl now. And Bayley, the whole split personality thing went absolutely nowhere. All right, so Slick Vic, let me see here. We'll go over one more thing, and then I'll get your thoughts. We got quite a few things here to go over still yet, it looks like. But up next was Chad Gable. And Slick Vic, I told you last week, I hate his new theme song. But when he came out this week to that theme song, he was trying his best to get that new theme song over, wasn't he? He was dancing, he was singing along, and it worked. The crowd was dancing and singing along too. It worked.
I thought it sucked, but okay.
It did suck, but it worked. He got it over. It sucked, but he made it work. He ends up coming down to the ring and calling out his old buddies, Akira Tozawa, Otis, and Maxine Dupree. And he gives them a sincere apology for everything that he did over the past couple of years as El Grande Americano. And Otis looks like he's ready to accept his apology, but before he can, Maxine grabs the mic and says they don't accept his apology, and they're going to leave him stranded and alone the same way that he did them. So Maxine leaves the ring, Tozawa leaves the ring, Otis hesitates but ultimately leaves the ring as well and leaves with, is it American Alpha? It's not American Alpha. Alpha Academy.
Yeah.
And they need to change that name to American Alpha or something. But that's how it ended. So Chad Gable pours his heart out, gives them this big apology, and Maxine speaks for the entire group in not accepting. We'll go one more, Slick Vic. We get a match after this. Ethan Page and Dragon Lee. Thought it was a solid match. It was a great showing here by Ethan Page. Thought he did really well. Dragon Lee, he's great, but you see the same thing every time, I feel like. But I'm still new to Ethan Page, so I was especially impressed by him. And he went over. Ethan Page won that match. Slick Vic, let me get your thoughts thus far on Monday Night Raw.
All right. So Oba Femi, I know he's really over everywhere, but damn, was he over in London. The crowd and if you notice, he did that whole, like, who do you want me to face after this King of the Ring? And they were heavily in favor of him versus Roman.
Yeah.
Oba trying to shut down the run it back thing, I thought was hilarious because he totally sounded like a school teacher. Like, pipe down, children. I don't want you doing any of that stuff. He's like, if he's like, what did he say? He's like, if you're thinking of running it back, I will shut that down right now.
Yeah, and this was another case you mentioned earlier of like you're confused about Jay. He comes out aggressive, being very heel-like, and then on SmackDown, like you said, he was being very babyface-like. He was very babyface-like here on Raw versus Oba. You know, doing the whole yeet party and everything. Maybe it's when he's by himself versus when he's with the bloodline.
Roman,
You know,
yeah.
yeah.
I thought Jay cut a very fiery promo. Oba's response was good with the whole "give your bullets to your cousin" comment. But I know you thought this was cheesy, but I thought it was fun. I thought it was a good one. The backstage stuff with LA Knight and Jimmy Uso. I thought LA Knight was kind of funny here. And Jimmy Uso had a good point when he was talking about how, you know, I was trying to back you up. What did you do? You hit me with the chair. And Adam Pearce is great too. Adam Pearce is always great. The women's tag match was shorter than imagined. It's not bad, but not great. But the big story is obviously Lyra turning, and good for Lyra. You know, she had Becky turn on her at after WrestleMania. Was it last year or 2 years ago?
Yeah,
and then she it looked like for the longest time Bayley was going to turn on her. Like I said, they've stopped this whole dual personality Bayley thing a long time ago. They started it and then they stopped it. It was dumb. Whatever. But yeah, good on Lyra for turning. She needed a little needed a little bit of a shakeup.
I'm pumped about that, and I think that I may be wrong about this, but I'm pretty sure I said a long time ago that I want to see Lyra turn heel and come out in all black, no more wings, no more anything, just heel. So yeah. I'm glad.
Yeah. And then Chad's entrance is what, as I have right here, what I wrote down is what JR would call a white meat babyface. He's coming out doing the whole...
Yeah, clapping.
That was so stupid. What is this? This is almost as bad as the whole Shorty G nonsense from a couple years ago.
Well, I don't know. I disagree with you there, Slick Vic, because the Shorty G thing went nowhere. But this was silly, but it got over. Would I rather see a serious Chad Gable? Absolutely. After that mask versus mask match, I think they have the platform. He's already halfway to the moon. They just have to boost him a little bit. This did not boost him at all. It took him back a few pegs, but it was interesting to me to watch because as much as I hate that theme song, he had the people up. He had them into it. I don't know. It was impressive to watch him work the crowd.
Well, I hope this apology tour is over because I'm getting a little sick of seeing him come out and just apologizing to everyone and their mother. I liked Maxine's rebuttal. It made sense. But obviously, I think down the line, the boys from Alpha Academy are going to turn on her because she's cozying up to the Vision, especially Austin Theory. A heel turn has been teased for several weeks now for Maxine, and I think it's going to happen very, very soon now.
I hope so.
Dragon Lee and Ethan Page. This was okay. I mean, they did that stupid corner double stomp again, which I hate with passion. I like Ethan Page. I think he's got a great future. I'm glad he won. But that dive that Dragon Lee did, where he dove through the ropes and did a flip and landed on the announce table, oof, vicious. By the way, did you hear the name that the announcers called Ethan Page's finish?
What did they call it?
The Egoplex. You know, he hooked them up like in a fisherman suplex, like a perfect wrestler used to do back in the day.
Did he pin him at the end of it? He
didn't hook the leg and pin him the way that wrestler that perfect one used to do. But he did pin him immediately after that Egoplex.
I have a very hard time with this. Why do you not hit a fisherman suplex and just hold the pin? I have a very hard time figuring out why anybody would do that. But you know what I think it is, Slick Vic? They're just not perfect.
Nobody can do it the same way.
There's a reason why it's called the perfect plex. There's a reason why only one man can do it. All right.
I'm going back right now. Yeah, he hits the egoplex, and then, yep, just rolls over and pins him.
That's it.
Yeah.
All right, let's take a look at the next half of Raw. So we get an announcement, Slick Vic. Season 3 of WWE Unreal is coming July the 21st to Netflix, ladies and gentlemen. Mark your calendars. Apparently, it's going to be centered around John Cena's goodbye from in-ring action in WWE. Season 3 of Unreal, July 21st. Then we have an in-ring segment. This was kind of lame. Io Sky and Liv Morgan come out to the ring. It breaks down when Io starts yelling in Japanese. They have a brief scuffle. Io gets the better of Liv, knocking her out of the ring, yelling at her. I think this is even more of a clear indication, Slick Vic, that we're going to see Liv walk out with the crown at Night of Champions.
Segment was filler.
Yeah. Backstage segment up next. The Usos are backstage, and Jacob shows up. Jay asks, where has he been? Why was he on SmackDown talking to Solo? And Jacob says he doesn't answer to him. Moving on. Another backstage segment. Dom and JD track down Danhausen and ask for their money. Danhausen says that he spent it all. And JD says he's going to give them their money or he'll take whatever Danhausen has bought, which consists of some little trinket and then a crate full of stuff. So JD goes to grab the crate full of stuff, ends up getting electrocuted. Ha ha, as Slick Vic would say. I always find it an interesting dynamic that we go from this, and it reminds me of watching the old Batman TV show from the 60s, to like LA Knight pacing in the ring ready to kick somebody's ass. It's a weird dynamic, but up next
quite the transition.
Yeah, we have our match, LA Knight versus Jimmy Uso, that was set up earlier in the night. And it's a fairly decent match. In the end, Solo shows up through the crowd and hits Jimmy with a Samoan spike. So Solo shows up. People are like, what's going to happen? We saw what happened. He hit his brother. Then, a surprised LA Knight takes advantage of the situation by hitting a BFT to finish off Jimmy Uso and pick up the win. So, that's it. Good win by LA Knight. Is it going to push him anywhere? Probably not. This is just furthering the Solo versus Bloodline feud here. And LA Knight is just a cog in the flywheel. From that, we get another backstage segment, the Judgment Day meet-up backstage, and Liv seems more worried about her own problems than she is about pretty much anything else. Liv says that she hopes Raquel ends up winning the Women's Intercontinental Championship and that Dom gets his money back, but then Roxanne's like, what about me? And Liv has nothing to say, so thus continues the very long, very drawn-out dissension of the Judgment Day, I feel like. Then, Slick Vic, we have the main event of the evening. The World Tag Team Championships are on the line. Austin Theory and Braun Breaker defending in the name of Logan Paul. Of course, Logan Paul is hurt. He is one half of the tag team champions, but Breaker is currently defending, maybe by way of the Freebird rule. I said Freebird. Freebird rule. So Theory and Breaker are the champions versus the Street Profits. Now, this is a throwdown right here. This is a great match. And you really got the feeling towards the end. Things are happening that wouldn't normally happen. We're going to see these titles change hands. And spoiler alert, we saw those titles change hands. At the end of the match, towards the end, Logan Paul tries to get involved, but ends up getting chased off by
Joe Hendry.
I believe in Joe Hendry. Chases him off. Meanwhile, Theory spots the brass knucks that Logan Paul left behind and goes for him. But then we hear Seth Rollins' music play, and he comes out, snatches the brass knucks, uses them to knock out Theory. The Street Profits hit 2 moves on Theory, finishers on Theory, tandem finishers, whatever you want to call it. I don't know. But they both, Dawkins hit some kind of slam, and then the other one hit some kind of
frog splash.
Hit a frog splash. Anyway, new World Tag Team Champions, the Street Profits. Interesting going forward. Seth Rollins costs division, the World Tag Team Championships. Going into Night of Champions, this ups the stakes a little bit in the cage match that we're going to see between Braun Breaker and Seth Rollins. And I can't wait. I'm here for it. I'm not a big fan of the Street Profits, to be honest. But hey, the tag team titles were on the line in the main event of Raw. They made it a big deal. I'm happy about that. I'm glad that the tag team division shined here to close out the show, and it was a big event, and you had multiple main eventers involved, and it was just, all over the place, and it was good stuff, and I'm happy about that. Slick Vic, let me get your thoughts. That is Monday Night Raw.
Okay, well, the LA Knight Jimmy Uso match, I don't have much to say about it. I thought it was pretty run-of-the-mill, to be honest with you. But Solo coming out and spiking Jimmy was really interesting. So, good shit there, pal. I'm more invested in that than some of the other stuff that was going on.
Yeah, for sure.
The Judgment Day tension has just been dragging and dragging and dragging. I can't wait for it to end. But I will say this. There was that one segment where the Judgment Day bump into Chad Gable, and Dominic Mysterio says, "Where's my apology? I'm the king of the luchadors."
Yeah.
I popped so hard for that. It's like, where's my apology? And I thought it was hilarious.
The king. Yeah. For now, anyway. For now.
Yeah.
I hear that there's a certain El Grande that is vying for that AAA Mega Championship.
The main event, I got no problem with the Street Profits winning. I get the belt off Braun, get the tag belt off Braun Breaker, let him go on to bigger and better things. The match itself, I felt was really long. Maybe by that point I was also exhausted too, and there was like a million commercial breaks. But I was really happy to see Joe Hendry back, because I was actually just thinking about that as I was watching the show. I'm like, we haven't seen Joe Hendry in a while. What the hell happened to him? He was like helping out the Street Profits against the Vision, and then he just disappeared. Somebody must have said his name.
You said his name, and he appeared.
Yeah. So great seeing Joe back. Match itself, long and a little too long, and I felt exhausted.
Yeah, I feel you. But good end to Raw. They made it seem like a big deal, and like I said, tag team division on display. Can't complain there, because we've been complaining for a long time that they need to make that division shine more. All right, Slick Vic. We only got a couple of segments left in our episode here at Wrestling with Power. We're going to take a look at this week in wrestling history, and then we're going to be closing out the show with Slick Vic's picks for Night of Champions. Can't wait for that. But first, I say we take a little pause for the cause. What do you say?
Yep, it's fine with me.
All right, we'll be right back. All right, everybody, we're back from that pause for the cause, and I just found the Harley Race promo that I was talking about from earlier. We're going to try to show it to you guys right now, and Slick Vic's going to watch along if we can do this. Let's do this. So, all right, let's take a listen. This is Harley Race's promo from back in the day. If we can get some context here, I'm not sure if we can or not. It doesn't say. I do know that based on some research I did, he was in Australia defending the title. I think he lost the match, or maybe it wasn't for the title. Anyway, let's take a listen at the King in action.
Come down to you. Me is coming down to where whatever I gotta do, I'm gonna beat you. I've come over here twice. of representing the world of wrestling. I have done it with the utmost respect for wrestling until now. Miller, I'm coming back, and when I get back, I'm gonna hurt you. I'm gonna hurt you somehow. If I gotta do it that way, fine. You have insulted the world heavyweight champion.
Look at that guy's face. Oh, man.
So
Good
intense.
stuff.
Damn.
Good stuff. You have insulted the world heavyweight champion, man. Anyway, we're back from that pause for the cause once again. Ladies and gentlemen, we got a couple more segments here to go, and we're going to start with This Week in Wrestling History, and Slick Vic is going to be bringing us that fine segment right now.
Well, I got to start with some rather sad news. Mosley, I don't think there's a bigger stain on the name pro wrestling than the Chris Benoit tragedies, man. This is like the stuff people talk about when they want to hate on wrestling, or they'll bring up something, or even like people think there are some people that still talk about steroids when it comes to this. Not the fact that the man had a brain of an 85-year-old Alzheimer's patient.
Yeah.
But yes, this week was the anniversary of the Chris Benoit tragedy, where we lost three members of the family. So
Wow.
that was some tough news, man. That was some heavy news. The Dark Side of the Ring episodes, some of the hardest watches I've ever seen. That two-parter, hardest watches.
And you know, Slick Vic, he still has a surviving son.
Yes.
David, right? Is his name David Benoit?
I believe so. Yeah.
And it's been a few years, but there were some things that came out where he was attending wrestling events or trying to get into wrestling, and the poor kid, he has zero personality. He seems super reserved, super shy, but man, he just seems like he has been through absolute hell every time I watch something of him. And this whole thing that happened was crazy because, you know, it goes without saying, and you're going to hear it time and time again, Chris Benoit is top 5 in the ring. Doesn't matter what he did. Doesn't matter how it ended. To me, he's top 5. Great. You go back and watch his matches. He's so snappy, and he's so good at everything he does in the ring. And his promos weren't bad either. I mean, he was great. But we see this happen, and ironically happened literally, I think, the week after Vince McMahon got blown up in the car. They were doing this whole thing where they were doing this angle where Vince McMahon was dead or had gotten killed. And I remember watching Raw the following week, and Vince came out and he was, you know, candid, behind the scenes, breaking the fourth wall, whatever you want to say. But he was like, you know, we were supposed to do a storyline where my character died, but unfortunately, Chris Benoit has died. And at the time, they didn't really know what had happened, so they had this big tribute to Chris, wherever they had everybody talking about him and recorded things. And then the following week, it was like, oh, well, now we know what's happened, so we're not going to talk about Chris Benoit anymore. You know, and apparently what happened was he fucking lost it and killed his wife and his young, disabled son. So that tarnished his legacy, and it tarnished anything that he ever did in wrestling, and it sucks. It sucks because, you know, I'm not going to say that it would have been better in any other case, because that's a terrible, terrible situation to happen. But you're talking about one of the best surefire Hall of Famers, surefire legendary wrestlers, that it's gone now, up in smoke. Yeah. So
no excusing what he did, but he was fantastic. Like he's had, you know, 10 out of 10 matches with Kurt Angle, Chris Jericho, you know, going back to WCW against like Eddie Guerrero and Dean Malenko. He even had that triple threat match at WrestleMania 20 was fantastic.
Fantastic. The ending to WrestleMania was incredible with him
Yeah.
and Eddie Guerrero. He is top tier in WWF No Mercy for the N64. If you break down the stats, I didn't know this, Slick Vic, but like our Hyrulean friend came to visit me one time. This has been years and years ago, but we sat down and we played some WWF No Mercy, and he picked Benoit and whipped my ass every time. And he's like, Benoit's the highest rated character in this game. I'm like, what the fuck?
I had no idea.
He is, yeah.
Wow. I do remember. I had a Chris Benoit memory. Damn.
And there she goes.
Yeah, it's like I remember when the WWE Network first came out, you couldn't search for his name, like for his matches.
No, and it didn't advertise him at all. Like when it talked about any of the matches he was in.
Yeah, like if you look at like their little the synopsis for WrestleMania 20, it'll say the main event featuring a triple threat match with Shawn Michaels and Triple H.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
yeah.
That was a bit much.
His matches were there. They just you couldn't search for them. And I loved about that old WWE Network was like the chapter. They had like the matches separated by like chapters.
Yeah.
So you can just easily navigate to the match you wanted to see.
Yeah, absolutely.
But if a Chris Benoit match was on that card, you couldn't click.
It was not there. It didn't have a bubble. It was like a big ass gap of nothing. Yeah.
Anyways, on to something a little more memorable memorable for the right reasons. Today, 30 years ago, there was a guy, a bald-headed SOB from Texas, got on the mic. He ridiculed a man who carried a snake. He told him about, all he needs to do is go out and get himself a cheap bottle of Thunderbird so he can conjure up some of that courage he had in his prime.
Yeah.
I'm of course talking about the King of the Ring 96 were won by Stone Cold Steve Austin, where he cut that legendary promo after the match. Right, yeah. King of the Ring 96.
This Austin is where, Stone Cold Steve Austin, this was his coming out party, man. This was, he cut that fire promo. He had a match earlier in the night, and he had to leave and go get stitches at the hospital. So when he came back, he didn't know exactly the promo that Jake the Snake had cut, but he was informed that it was something about religion. So when he won the match against Jake, he cut the promo, and he said, you can say your prayers and thump your Bible all you want. Talk about your Psalms, talk about John 3:16, but Austin 3:16 says, I just whipped your ass. And the next night on Raw, there were Austin 3:16 signs everywhere, and we were off to the races, man. This was big, big time heading into the Attitude Era.
I remember Doc Hendricks selling that line like, bro, you can't say that on TV.
Yeah.
He's like looking into the crowd like, oh shit, he just said the word ass.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Austin 3:16, born King of the Ring 96, 30 years ago today. Good stuff.
Hell yeah.
All right. Also, there's a lot of King of the Ring news. I'm not going to cover all of it, but in non-King of the Ring news, Kane was unmasked on this day or this week in 2003. Remember Kane being unmasked?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Were you a little confused? He takes the mask off and it looks like there's like running paint on his face. And then the week after that, he shows up with no paint whatsoever.
Yeah. So when he first unmasked, he had shaved parts of his hair to where he had like little tufts of hair here and there.
Mm-hmm.
And then he had the black stuff over his eyes that had smeared onto his forehead. And I was like, is that seriously the makeup that they've given him to make him look burnt? Because we know what Freddy Krueger looks like. That's not how a burn victim looks. They don't look like they just got charcoal in the face. So my first thought was, this is what they've done to make him look burnt. was just smear some black shit on his face. And I was like, but it was a huge moment for me because Kane was my favorite wrestler back in the day. And I was so consumed with how he looked under that mask and what he actually looked like and would they ever take it off. And, just he was my favorite, man. And it was such a big mystery and they kept it so tight-lipped and never let in. Even to this day, there's very few pictures that you can find of Kane from that era with his mask off. And it's still hard to imagine Kane, the guy that actually played Kane, being that massive character. So it was a huge moment. Huge moment for me. I was rooting for Kane that night. He was fighting Triple H for the World Heavyweight Championship. I wanted to see Kane win. I didn't want to see him lose. But I also remember when Kane came out, I knew he was going to lose because his hair didn't look right. If you go back and watch that, his hair looked very unnatural, and you can tell that they had gimmicked hair on him, so you knew that something was happening.
Well, in one piece of old school history, my favorite tag team debut, my childhood favorite tag team debuted in 1990 on this week, and that they are none other than what a rush, Legion of Doom, aka the Road Warriors. Nice. Yeah, Hawk and Animal debut in the WWE. Do you have any memories of Hawk and Animal?
No, not really. I mean, that was a little bit before my time. I remember when Animal got pushed off the Titantron.
Oh yeah,
but
that was Hawk actually. But yeah,
Hawk. Oh yeah, Hawk got pushed off the Titantron. Beyond that, maybe when Heidenreich got made the other Legion of Doom member. Yeah, that the old school Legion of Doom was a little bit before my time. I wasn't as strong of a fan at that time. Okay. So no.
I gotta send you some of their intense promos because they're good stuff.
I'm sure you've seen in retrospect, I've seen a lot of their promos. They delivered some of the most intense, believable, just great promos ever. Especially Hawk.
And I got a picture of the time I met Animal buried back there somewhere. But yeah,
they had the most simplistic. Well, Hawk did face paint. Their gimmick was just so fucking cool. For a little kid, you're like, God, these guys look like just badass. Like they
came right out of Mad Max.
Yeah, they came right out of Mad Max. They had the best theme music ever in the WWF, I thought.
Yeah.
I loved that theme music. And it was just like a 3-chord, thing. Like it wasn't anything crazy, but it was just awesome.
Yeah. You knew, shit was going to go down when that music hit.
Yeah. And shit was going to go down because I've heard a lot of wrestlers talk about working with them in the ring, and they'd you knew you were in the ring. You knew you were in the ring with the Road Warriors that night.
Last thing I want to touch on is another famous debut. This week, John Cena debuted in the WWE.
Wow.
In 2002. And that was in Chicago.
Wow.
Kurt Angle had like an open challenge. He wanted somebody to come out to show ruthless aggression, and out came this generic looking guy who wore just generic tights. And Kurt says, what do you got? Or what did you brought with you? And he goes, ruthless aggression. That was more like Vince McMahon, but nonetheless, John Cena debuted in 2002.
Wow. So long ago now. Crazy to think about. And we just saw the exit of John Cena from the ring. So we've been there through a lot of it, man. I mean, I remember that like it was yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't know who the hell he was. Apparently, though, he had been wrestling in OVW for a while.
Yes.
What was his name? The prototype. The prototype. Yeah. I'm getting my Resident Evil lingo mixed up here. But John Cena. Ruthless aggression.
John Cena. Do.
Yeah. Your
All
time
right.
is
Well,
up. My time is not. What was his original music? It wasn't that. It was
basic thugonomics or something like
yeah,
that.
yeah. Word life.
Yeah.
Oh man.
You can't see me.
That was so cheesy when he did the thugonomic stuff, but it was over. It was over.
Yeah. Well, that's all. Shall we move on to the next segment, the main event of the evening?
Let's move on to the main event of the evening, and we're going to look at Slick Vic's picks for Night of Champions. This coming, what is it, Saturday?
Yes, it is.
This coming Saturday, all the way from Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. Night of Champions, where the King of the Ring finals are going to take place, as well as a few other matches. And we're going to find out what's going to happen because Slick Vic knows all, and the crystal ball has told him this. So, without further ado, Slick Vic's picks.
I feel like it's been a while since I've heard this song.
It's been a minute, yeah. All right, Slick Vic, how about it? I'm going to give you the rundown of the matches listed, and then we're going to see what you think. Who's going to win at Night of Champions? And I know this is a tough one. There's some matches on here that are pretty tough.
Yeah.
So
let me just preface this by saying, man, this is a tough one to call. I think I've got one that I'm, I would bet a lot of money on that I know I'm right, but this is a tough one.
All right, well, let's find out. Let's start with Seth Rollins taking on Braun Breaker in a steel cage match.
All right, so this is their third match. Braun won at Backlash, and Seth won the rematch on Raw from a few weeks back. I am going with Braun Breaker to win the rubber match.
All right, so Slick Vic says Braun Breaker's going to win this match. Any kind of outside interference you think's going to go on, Slick Vic, or anything?
I think 100% guaranteed to see some interference from Division.
Okay. I think maybe the cage is traditionally supposed to prevent that, but
when has that ever kept anyone out of a match?
Exactly. So, Slick Vic says Braun Breaker's going to go over in this steel cage throwdown between Seth and Braun. We'll see what happens, but we're locking it in. Slick Vic up next for the United States Championship, Trick Williams versus Ricky Saints.
Now, this one, I'm, like I said, 100 earlier, but I'm going to say 99% sure that Trick Williams wins. Maybe with some interference from Carmelo Hayes. Because I alluded to this earlier in my SmackDown review. I can totally see Ricky getting involved, Carmelo getting involved, which leads to Trick Williams having a match with Carmelo down the line at, say, Saturday night's main event, which Ricky gets involved with in that one as well. And then we finally have the blow-off, which is a triple threat match at SummerSlam between Trick Williams, Ricky Saints, and Carmelo Hayes. That is my prediction. So, yes, Trick Williams is my pick for Night of Champions.
Solid pick, and I agree with your assessment completely. I think that was very well thought out, Slick Vic. So Trick to defend, to whoop that Trick, and go home as the U.S. champion. Up next, the other United States Championship, the Women's United States Championship, as a matter of fact. Tiffany Stratton, the champion, is going to be defending against the former WWE Women's Champion, Jade Cargill.
I'm going to go with Tiffany Stratton. Tiffy time prevails. Likely with interference from both Chelsea Green and Charlotte Flair. After the way Charlotte got beat down by Jade and her minions, I think there's a good chance Charlotte interferes. But also, Chelsea Green has been trying to cozy up to Tiffany Stratton, so I think she can get involved as well. After all, it's there's a 3-on-1 advantage here. So I'm picking Tiffany Stratton to retain the U.S. Championship.
Okay. Good call. I, I'm kind of iffy about it. I don't think that Jade needs to win the Women's United States Championship. So I like your assessment of this. At the same time, I definitely I'm not sure if her losing after, losing the WWE Women's title recently and all of this helps her stock. But in the way that you explained it, Slick Vic, yes, I could see that going down. So Tiffany Stratton to retain the Women's United States Championship.
Let me go ahead and let me go ahead and also add that I think they're going to build to a Charlotte and Jade match at SummerSlam.
Okay. Yeah.
And I don't think it needs a title. I think they can just build on just have a solid feud.
Yeah, absolutely. Agree. All right. Well, Slick Vic, next we have the Queen of the Ring finals, where we see Io Sky versus Liv Morgan. Liv Morgan, of course, is the women's world champion currently, was put in the tournament questionably, but has made it to the finals versus Io Sky. What do you see happening here?
This is probably the hardest match to predict, in my opinion, because I've been wrong about every women's match, every Queen of the Ring match going into this whole shebang. So, but I have learned from a certain Hyrulean. I think he's in the Dark World. He's up in the Northeast. He told us to not bet against Io Sky. So I'm going to listen to his advice and say Io Sky wins.
All right. And of course, we're talking about Big Kev says he learned a long time ago, never bet against Io Sky. So Slick Vic is going to take his advice on this one and say that Io Sky wins, becomes Queen of the Ring. Do you have any further predictions on if Io Sky wins? Who will she challenge? Because, if she beats Liv Morgan in the finals of this match, she's beat the women's world champion. She's already got one up on her. Yeah. It would be easy for her to go ahead and say, I beat you once, I can beat you again.
There's that. There's also the factor, you got to factor in how injured Rhea Ripley is. We don't know. I'm guessing just by the fact that they didn't strip her of the title, it's not a serious injury. So, I don't know. Will Io challenge Rhea Ripley? And that's also a possibility. We can play on their history.
I'll be honest with you, Slick Vic. I don't want to see either of those situations play out. I would rather see Liv Morgan win. I'm firmly against the Io hype at this point, but I digress. Up next, the finals of the King of the Ring, Oba Femi versus Jey Uso. This is an interesting one.
Yeah, I am sticking to my original plans for this one. I've had this idea since day one, where Brock Lesnar costs Oba Femi the King of the Ring. However, I hope I'm wrong, because I'd rather have Oba Femi win. But if Brock's going to do it, he should do it here. And if you notice, Oba Femi has been talking about Brock every single week.
Absolutely.
So it's, yeah.
There's the also SummerSlam is right around the corner in Minneapolis, in Brock Lesnar's hometown. He already quote unquote retired at WrestleMania, but he's having this quote unquote post-retirement tour where
epilogue,
where he's been going back and forth with Oba. So if he does cost Oba the King of the Ring finals, we could definitely see that culminating at SummerSlam, where ultimately that will be Brock Lesnar's final match, which would make sense. That would be fine. So Slick Vic says Jey Uso to win by way of, well, it doesn't matter. He picks Jey Uso to win regardless of what happens, but by way of Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar. By the way, Guys, before we move on to the final match here, there was a podcast put up recently. Chris Van Vliet interviewed Paul Heyman, and I listened to probably 3/4 of that podcast today. Fantastic. Probably the best interview I've ever heard out of Paul Heyman. So revealing, so good. Everybody should go out and listen to it. We won't go over it here. That's somebody else's shtick, but very good stuff. And he definitely talks about Oba and Brock, and even that Brock Lesnar, how he says that and why he says it that way and all that good stuff. So go check that out. But Jey Uso to win and become King of the Ring. Slick Vic, we got one match left. This is for all the marbles. WWE titles on the line. Cody, the champion, Cody Rhodes versus Gunther versus Sami Zayn.
Man. This is a tough one, but I'm gonna go with the Golden Boy. I'm sticking with QB1.
Okay, so you say Cody Rhodes is going to retain here?
Yes.
With the deck stacked firmly against him, with Sami in Saudi Arabia.
I can totally see a miscommunication on Sami's part costing Gunther the match, or I don't know who takes the pin here, but the point is Sami's the catalyst for Cody winning, thus resulting in Sami having another meltdown. And
okay,
that's how we end the match.
All right, well, mark it down, ladies and gentlemen. Mark it down and file it away. Slick Vic has given us his picks for Night of Champions. And once again, it is this Saturday. I don't know what time it starts, but you can bet your sorry ass it starts pretty early in the morning because it's all the way across the world. In Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, I'll be watching probably later in the evening, but I'll be watching nonetheless. And, of course, let's go over the card once again to just reconfirm with Slick Vic here in the crystal ball. Night of Champions 2026, Seth Rollins versus Braun Breaker in a steel cage match. Slick Vic picks Braun Breaker. Trick Williams versus Ricky Saints. U.S. title is on the line. Trick is the champion. Slick Vic says he's going to retain. Women's U.S. title, Tiffany Stratton, the champion, versus Jade Cargill. Slick Vic says Tiffany Stratton is going to retain. Queen of the Ring finals, Io Sky versus Liv Morgan. Slick Vic learned from Big Kev never to vote against or bet against Io Sky, so he is taking Big Kev's advice here and saying Io Sky is going to walk out with the crown in this one.
Shout out to Big Kev.
Shout out to Big Kev. Oba Femi versus Jey Uso in the King of the Ring finals. Slick Vic picks Jey Uso, specifically because he believes that Brock will be involved in this. I mean, how the fuck else is Jey Uso going to be Oba Femi? Come on. Jey Uso to take the crown, and then Cody Rhodes versus Gunther versus Sami Zayn for the WWE Championship. The champion Cody will retain, according to Slick Vic, and that elusive crystal ball back there. Lock it in, ladies and gentlemen. Night of Champions. And we are going to put the crystal ball away once again, leave you with a little more music here, if you will. Love that part. Love that part.
Rest now, my friend.
That was the wrong soundbite. There we go. Jesus. All right. Well, Slick Vic, that is all we've got for this week's episode of Wrestling with Power. And we must bid you adieu until next time. But we're going to have plenty of things to talk about next week. Post Night of Champions. We're going to see where the road is going to take us next. I don't know. We're heading towards SummerSlam. We're heading towards this and that. A lot of things could happen. this week in Saudi Arabia. It's going to be interesting to watch. I encourage everybody to tune in. Make sure that you tune in so that we can see just how slick Vic's picks turn out. But, ladies and gentlemen, that's all for me here at Wrestling with Power. Mr. Mosley is signing off, and I'm going to remind you once again where you can find us. Facebook.com/WrestlingWithPower, YouTube.com/@WrestlingWithPower, and over on Spotify, just search up Wrestling with Power. As of right now, those are our socials. That's where you can find all of our content. Follow us, subscribe, whatever the hell they call it. They call it different things on different things. Just click the button. Whatever the button is, just click it and stay powerful.
And Slick Vic here, ready to check out for the evening, and I want to wish you all the best in your future endeavors.
Thank you, everybody. Goodbye.